We are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Money and Mindset at 40 Plus, where we dig into our money stories to help you conquer your own money stories and money fears. I am Sylvia.
I'm still Jenny.
And we are talking about a subject today that we're not experts in.
No. Matter of
No,
fact, I might have done research for the show, Sylvia. Just telling you.
research.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into that research because we started digging just because we weren't sure of, we wanted to seem somewhat knowledgeable about today's episode. Today's episode is all about taxes. And as I was mentioning, I was saying to Jenny about the tax man. And then she was, why is it the tax man and not the tax woman? And then we were like, is it the tax person?
Or is it the tax they?
It's the government. That's and we're going to be talking. We're relating this to mindset, and we're going to dig up and tell you about some of the numbers about who files, who doesn't file, who's paying taxes, who's not paying taxes. But really, if you resonate with this topic, it's about why we wait so long to file. Why do we wait to pay our taxes? I know some business owners who haven't filed their taxes in a couple of years or several years.
Well, and we have the statistic, Sylvia, that there are 2 million people out there that have not filed their 2019 taxes yet.
So 2 million have not filed their taxes for this past year.
So if you're listening and you haven't, can you put in the chat and the comments why? I'd love to hear some of those stories of how that happens. I'm guessing some of them are, well, I know I'm getting a refund, or some of those statements. So what's the psychology behind having someone else have your money?
Yeah, really. And we're going to talk about like the perceived benefits or unknown benefits of filing late and paying late, and also the consequences. I don't think people realize just how severe it can be to not pay, not file and not pay. We're going to jump into the mindset of this today as well, like what's going on with the money story there. And then we're going to leave you with a few tips and tools to help you fall in love with the tax person.
Yes.
Right?
Fall in love with abundance, falling in love with playing big, having a big number on your tax filing and being good with that.
So Jenny, my first question to you is, have you always paid your taxes or filed your taxes on time?
Yes.
100%. 100%.
How about you?
I have. Always. But I'm going to admit to this past year, I mean, I filed on time. And what helps me there is having support to do so, and having a spouse that I, file with, and an accountant who helps us, and a bookkeeper who helps me all year. But my little kerfuffle, or a big kerfuffle this past year, was not paying my quarterlies, not paying the first one or two of them, and saying, oh, I have some big revenues coming in a few months. I'll just pay them all then. And that was my plan. And then coronavirus hit and that just wiped out my plan. So that was not a good plan. So my learning from this is just, they put these quarterlies for us in place as business owners, pay them, when you can, just get it off your plate. That was my learning curve of this. And I am totally just putting it out there because I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one. So let's dig into these numbers. Let's go for it. You tell me.
So Jenny researches on the magic Google, or the Google, as some people call it. I found a report from Canadian Taxpayers Federation from 2017. And would you believe, Sylvia, that a third of all people pay no taxes?
And a third of the people who file
pay
no taxes.
Yeah. And the reason for that is they're under the $50,000 threshold. They either have lots and lots of dependents, concessions, or whatever. Here's another interesting one. 87% of all income tax paid is paid by those over 50,000. So the majority of our money as Canadians is coming from people paying taxes of 50,000 or more. One more statistics. If we move up the food chain, up to those that are earning over $100,000 in earned revenue, or whatever that looks like for you, That's actually only 8.4% of all tax filers. So we truly are, at least in 2017, a country of the middle class, which kind of makes me feel really proud as a Canadian. But these were not the statistics, I have to say, that I was expecting at all. And I had to actually sit with them a bit, Sylvia, to kind of to like process and decompress that.
Well, I'm really surprised about the 100,000 and
Yeah.
more, that it's only 8.4 or 8.7% of tax filers that make that much and more. In my mind, it seems that it would be much
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, oh, is that because the majority of people are salaried workers?
Yeah.
Is entrepreneurship, not pushed when kids are going to school, and we're not, I have all these thoughts and going
Oh,
through my mind.
and the other one I thought was seniors. The majority of our
Mm,
community is seniors. So in
true.
Canada, so is that because they're really, their income is a fixed income that's been from previous times? And come on, let's be honest, is there tax evasion going on? That's just something that we talked
Is
about.
there? Is there?
I don't know. Yeah.
I think there probably is. This is I will just say, I think
Yeah.
there probably is.
Yeah.
Definitely. So
Mhm.
that's very interesting.
Yep.
So it's the middle class people
Yeah.
paying for the taxes.
So
Yes.
here's another cool one. Went on to CRA, Canadian Revenue Agency, if you're listening from the States, equivalent to the IRS in the States. And 90% of all Canadians filed electronically, which I find fantastic. I'm sure CRA has been working really hard on that. But here's a fun one. 66% of us get a refund.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, but then I start thinking, oh, you know why? Because everyone's a salaried worker, and then they're taking the money at the source. So
Right.
the government is using that money
Mhm.
ahead of time.
Yep.
They're investing and using that money while you don't get your money until the end.
Yeah.
You're overpaying.
Yep.
And then, of course, it's nice to have that bonus at the end, but you could have been investing that money at
It's
in real time. No?
it's your money,
Yes,
right?
it's their
It's a
money, and they're
protective.
holding it for you and they're not giving you the interest.
No.
So 66% of people get a refund. Yes. And I think that just shows how many employees we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, but it's an oxymoron in the sense
Mm,
that that there's money there, and yet people procrastinate paying, and yet two-thirds of
true.
them get it back. So how does
True.
that work, Sylvia?
So out of the 2 million people who still haven't
Yeah.
filed, 66% of you get a refund. So
Whoa.
don't wait.
Yeah. Don't let someone else use your money. Remember that. What did Pamela say? Are you in control of your money? There's a great
Yes.
example.
That
Yeah.
is a great example.
So a couple more last statistics from CRA. 13% of you are perfect. In other words, what you put
Ooh.
in is the nil coming out.
Ah,
So you don't owe, but your numbers match up perfectly. And 21% have a balance owing. So whether that's from previous years or whatever. But again, 21% is nothing like the 66%. And those numbers are from the previous tax year, just to say,
yes.
I did check those are more up to date.
Mm.
And it was interesting too, the majority of people are getting their money back through direct deposit, which I was also really encouraged. That saves our Canadian taxpayers dollars. We're not sending checks. We're
Hmm.
sending the money direct deposit, which are big wins. So from there, those statistics kind of kick off our discussion of how does our mindset and our abundance and our vision to play big tie into our money stories around taxes. So
Mm.
I'll start maybe with a couple of money stories. I know in my family, my mom always talked about being super proud of paying taxes,
Hmm.
which I actually find really interesting. And it was something that her family also felt. And it was the idea that if I'm paying taxes, I'm doing okay and I'm contributing back.
Mm.
And that I believe in the services that, for me, one of the ones that comes to mind is libraries. Like, I'm not so keen on roads, Sylvia, but libraries, hospitals too, but like
That's because
libraries.
you don't live in Quebec, Jenny.
Oh, oh,
Jenny is in Ontario
oh.
and Sylvia is in Quebec. And our roads, our roads are very well known throughout Canada to be the worst roads in Canada. And I wish perhaps we would maybe not pay more taxes, but maybe more of our taxes could be going to fixing those potholes a little bit quicker, because I have wrecked my car. I think I burst a tire at one point with potholes, and we get that, I think, more than you do, though our temperature is very similar, right?
Yeah,
Why is that?
yeah.
Priorities. So, but
Perhaps Perhaps not another show. Not
No,
interested
no, we're
in
not going to
talking
talk
about
about
this.
that. But let's talk about the different services, like, or, and even before we get to that, so your mom, let's go
Yeah.
back. We're going to backtrack. Your mom enjoyed paying taxes because she realized
I would
everything,
say
well, not
enjoy.
enjoy,
I think
but
she's
she
proud
realized the
of
benefits.
it too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The services she got in return. But, I remember, the tax man was almost like the boogeyman, right? Not a person you want to be friends with. And, oh, why do we have to pay taxes? Oh my God, the taxes are so high. And, oh, we hear that a lot here in Quebec. We are highly taxed here
Yeah.
in Quebec, though we do have additional services. I can think of daycares. We have subsidized daycares where it started out as a program, $5 a day per child, and then it went up to $7, and now it's 8 something, I believe, over the years. So I profited from that greatly, and very thankful for that because I know I come out on top.
But let's also remember, just to pick up on that, I think this actually touches on the common good. And I think the common good is a really important subject. I mean, obviously, I'm a proponent and a champion of philanthropy and the common good.
Right.
Government and subsidies only go so far, and the world that I work in is in that extra world. But the common good, having Sylvia be able to pay for her daycare and work, means she pays taxes and she's able to contribute to the economy, and that money goes around, comes around. So I think sometimes we think of it as, well, libraries only benefit not people who read, or roads only benefit people who drive cars, and buses. It's more of a common good. And I like the idea of a basic structure or system, not to go political, but those systems are what help us through challenges like COVID. If you look at what's going on in the States right now,
oh my gosh,
the infrastructure is falling apart because of the lack of paying taxes and the lack of the understanding of a common good. I mean, Europe goes even further than this. But so that goes back to me for mindset is, what are the things about paying taxes that I'm grateful for? I'm grateful I don't have to schlep to the dump. That's another one, right? Garbage removal and etc. Doesn't mean that I don't want to be mindful and hold my politicians and my government accountable for how they spend our money, because it is our money. But that idea, one interesting outcome of these statistics for me was, we want more wealthy people in our provinces, in our country. We want people who earn good money because that helps our tax base, but allows us to support all of those others. And hopefully those people that are wealthier in other tax brackets want to contribute that way. Sure, there's lots of other ways they contribute through philanthropy or whatever, but that actually is an indicator of a healthy society and maybe a safety net. And I hadn't thought of it that way before, Sylvia.
Well, I think also we take our services for granted. And I think gratitude, if when we're talking mindset, being grateful, like when you're actually sending the checks to the government and actually saying thank you for the healthcare that you are providing us here in Canada. We are so grateful. And people complain a lot again here in Quebec. It's never good enough. However, it is, I think it's when we leave the country, when I go traveling and see that there's no garbage pickup, and things are just left out on the streets, when you go down to South America, perhaps, or other places where they're not so developed, you're like, wow, okay, it is clean here. And we do have roads, and they do plant flowers, and their kids can go to daycare. And when you start listing, being grateful. So that was one of the, in talking about this episode and putting it together too, is like, oh yeah, I think I need to be a little bit more grateful and recognize all the work that the governments are doing. Definitely.
So I want to dive into why we procrastinate, because we came up with some ideas. So one reason we procrastinate is because of the ostrich syndrome, right? We just don't want to know. And your point about surprise, you don't want to have a bad surprise. That can be addressed by systems, right? If we have a system or a process in place, or often for me, I'm a pleaser, so having someone else nudge me helps. I think we feel somewhat inadequate, Sylvia, around just money things, and we don't want to let on that we're not as good with money as we'd like. And so we kind of put it as a dirty secret that we don't want to tell anyone or change or ask anyone for advice. That's got to get blasted out of the water, just has to change, because you don't know what you don't know. I've figured that out many times. The third one we talked about was lack of control. So the idea of working with a bookkeeper and an accountant may sound great to some profiles of people. For others, it's really scary because they have to let go of their money to let someone else help them with it. And I think that's a really challenging thing for some of us control freaks, just saying. And finally, irrelevant systems. I think when we don't have systems in place, the whole thing snowballs and makes it so crazy. And it becomes actually self-sabotage. So it's a self-perpetuating prophecy, because every year we screw up. It's a bad scenario. It's something negative. It's like the panther around the corner in the jungle, Sylvia. You don't want to go there because last time you got smacked or whatever. So those were kind of the things we talked about the why, because why does it happen? If 66% of you are going to get refunds.
Yeah. Why are we waiting? Why are you waiting? I'd end up paying, as you know, as a business owner, I'm just paying what they tell me to pay. And sometimes I have to pay more because I had a better year, right? I love Stacy here. Wow, never thought to think of taxes in the way you've shared. We should be grateful for all that the government does or provides us. That doesn't mean they can't do more, right? But to be grateful for what we have, definitely. Yeah, and it's that. It's why would I wait? Yeah, I mean, great points. Feeling, I think the control part for me, I know I find myself asking my bookkeeper, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And she's like, yes, Sylvia, I did it. And I go, okay, but is it done well? Like, I don't want to be liable afterwards, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Can we talk about benefits? Tell us about benefits, because there is a benefit to procrastinating and to not filing taxes and all that stuff, right?
Well, you stay in your zone of comfort, right? With a lot of money stories, we're just staying with what we know. We're playing small rather than playing big. If our business is growing, well, we're going to have to be paying more taxes. And if I already don't like to play, to pay the taxman, the tax person, well, shoot, here I am going to get a 6-figure tax bill. Oh my gosh, right? Yeah, you can commiserate with others too. There's a whole, all friends get together. Oh my gosh, tax time here. And, I think we need to change that story of what are we going to do with our refund? So let's go on a trip. Yes.
I just want to put out to the universe, I'd love a 6-figure tax bill.
Me too. Bring it. And part of that, we're going to go on a trip. We're going to host this show from a beach somewhere, right? The returning cycle, right? We always fall back on what we know. And we're firm believers that if you want to have different results in your business and your life, you have to do things differently. And that'll be in the tips and tools we'll talk about. And do we really hate it that much? Or is it just a story that we're telling ourselves because everyone else, because it's, the majority of people are saying the same thing. Those are the thoughts we had, what resonates with you there? Why, what perceived benefits? And they're hidden benefits, actually. They're not even perceived because you don't think of them as benefits, right?
And the benefit, I think what we mean by that phrase is there's got to be a reason why you're doing it. You just may or may not know it. And so if you look at it as a perceived benefit of what's happening, I think mostly it keeps you in the playing small, right? That's the overarching one. I also think that we put the emotion and the other subtext to taxes. Taxes are just taxes. Numbers are just numbers. They don't have emotional attachments to them until we put them on.
Just like money. Yeah. It's when taxes is related to money. So there you go. It's an extension. It's another arm. So putting no emotion to it, we file them on time, we pay them, and then there'll be no consequences. Because when you don't pay your tax or file on time or, pay what you owe, there are some consequences and they can be pretty steep.
Yeah. And again, they're going to keep charging at you. So there's interest that compounds. I think there's a 5%, at least in Canada, penalty for owed taxes. But what's not cool, scary, is it compounds, right, Sylvia? So every time you do that, the whole thing just snowballs and etc. And it was funny. I remember a friend of mine bought a house, and when the house got sold, there was this pile of arrears taxes. And it was a very nice house. I'll just leave it there, like extremely nice house. And the tax bill was massive. And I guess he just stopped paying taxes because he said, well, I'm going to sell the house and that'll come out of the tax bill. But, the government always gets their money, right? In this case, it was the city always gets their money. And I felt it was funny. I had to be careful not to judge the person selling the house, because immediately I was like, well, upstanding citizens pay their taxes on time, right? That's what we do. I'm a rule follower, Sylvia. You tell me to jump, I say, how high? And then just finally, forget the money, the emotional wear and tear.
Oh my gosh, the stress of it all. Yes. Yes,
And,
yes,
and
yes.
and that energy being spent on something else more productive, more money making, more family, whatever it is for you, that's a waste of energy.
It is. Just think of yourself in those stressful moments. And now, if you
Yeah,
just think of it, close your eyes if you're watching and think of you paying your filing on time,
yeah,
not a problem.
yeah,
It all goes even before the date, and you're receiving your bonus. What are you going to use it for
yeah,
if you have a return, right?
yeah,
It's a
absolutely.
very different. How are we feeling? Freedom. And then, especially as a business owner, and I talk to business owners,
Yeah.
like you said, that brain, that mental space that it takes up. I know clients that I work with
Mm-hmm.
who that is it's taking up, but it's taking years of their lives,
Yeah,
years of
absolutely.
their lives. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So, and as we're listening, if you're a person that works in not for profit or you're thinking about charity, I hope this conversation is breaking down those barriers around. I hear a lot of, well, they have money, so they should give some,
Mm.
right? There's a lot of layered elements to that, and they too pay taxes. They too have emotions around money, or not, and trying to figure out how to work with them and trying to demystify all those pieces around money and money mindset. Yours and your donors will be one of your secret sauces for sure, Sylvia.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, Colleen here says, with my deductions for RSPs and charity donations, my return ends up covering my home and auto insurance payments each year. File in April, insurance due in May. Works for me. Great system. See?
love the
Systems.
system. The
Systems,
system.
Colleen. Bravo to you.
Yeah, well done. So I can't believe it's 12:21 again,
I
Sylvia.
know.
It runs out quickly. Are some of our final takeaways that we wanted to make sure to pick up for people today?
Well, really to sit with what emotions do you feel around tax time? I think that was one of the main ones, and sitting with it, recognizing it, but then moving past it and changing that story. So rather than I don't like the tax man, say, hey, I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
paying my taxes because I'm going to do this with my return if I have a return.
yeah.
And because I have, we're going to try another one is putting systems in place.
Mhm.
Because I put my systems in place, I can pay my taxes no problem. And I will move on to the next project, right? Gratitude. So that gratitude piece we talked about. And the higher your taxes means you're making more money. And thank the universe for making more money. I know we're repeating ourselves, but
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
is
And the
part
energy.
of the money mindset energy that we just have to completely be grateful for all the money we're making. And yeah, recognizing, make a list of how you use your taxes. If you have you use the bike roads, the bike paths, the car, the
Mhm,
daycares, the
mhm.
schools, the healthcare,
Yeah,
make a list of them
I
and
love
really
that.
come back to that. I like that too.
I really like that. I
Mm,
want to tell a quick, very quick, because we're at the end, that when I paid, so I love my bonuses out of my business. I tend to do
mm,
it that way. And I have added a new tax to my life, Sylvia.
what is it?
It's the joy tax. So when I
Oh,
set up my bonus, I absolutely set up my RSPs. I set up all my savings, all that kind of thing for my bonus. But I also have a Jenny joy tax.
a
And so
Jenny Joy tax. Can I get a Jenny Joy tax?
you can. And so what that does is I get to spend it on anything I want. And I have to tell you,
Uh,
the spending it on what I want, the joy of thinking about what I want is even
mhm.
better than the actual buying of. I mean, the buying of the thing is great.
Yes, and
Um,
getting it and
that,
using it, but
but so I'll
mm,
leave you with that one. What is your joy tax, guys? And let's add that to our homework. Start thinking about your joy tax, whether it's a thing, whether it's a place, whether it's a piece of jewelry. I've got some beautiful jewelry on. Yeah.
so fun and joy. Systems. Yeah. I think a lot of people, this is where they're going to have to do some reflection, myself included. How can we improve our systems? We can always improve our
Yeah.
systems, right? Jenny's adding a joy tax. I am definitely putting my quarterly payments back. Surrounding yourself with good people too, a good
Yeah.
bookkeeper, an accountant. We are not specialists in those
No.
areas, and we do need the help to perhaps not pay as much, or saving where we can save. The account, if you
Mhm.
have a good accountant, they can really help you.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
there are some, systems in place where that does allow you to pay less taxes legally, not, not in the Cayman Islands, not.
And don't settle with those people around you.
Mm,
If you're not happy, or if you feel like that you want more, don't avoid that niggling feeling. I think that's also an important message. And Stacy likes my joy tags.
Yeah. No, that's important what you said, because I
Yeah.
tend to wait with I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I wait and wait and wait and wait until I get very frustrated with my people that I've hired, and then now yes. So
Yeah.
I that's on my list, systems and people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, there we have it.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. We'd love to hear more about how you perceive the tax
Mhm.
person
Mhm.
in your life.
Mhm.
What does that mean? What are you going to spend your joy tax on? Jenny, can we ask you? What are you spending your joy tax on?
Well, I can actually, because I just bought them. I bought myself an extravagant pair of boots that I would
Oh.
normally, boots as in like 3/4 boots, and I would normally never even look at boots in that price range. Do you know what I mean by that? And
Mhm.
I said, you know
Mhm.
what? Those are gorgeous. Those are Italian. I want that.
There you go.
So
So
I'll put a picture of them in the comments. I don't know if I can put comments pictures in YouTube, but I'll share my boots with y'all. My walking boots.
your boots, these boots are made for walking. So tell us about next week.
Next week's show is all about money archetypes. So we're finally diving into dissecting archetypes. If you've been listening along, we've been alluding to these different profiles. There are 8 of them, of the way people have relationships with money. They tie into you as a person. They tie into you as a business owner. They tie into you as an executive director, CEO of an organization. They also tie into you as a philanthropist, a budding or
Mhm.
a mature philanthropist. And also for those of you that work with those budding philanthropists or mature philanthropists. So much more to go. We'll be sharing what our archetypes are. No surprises there, Sylvia, for sure.
No.
Yeah, but lots to share, and looking forward to next week already.
Have a good week, everyone.
And pay your
Bye.
taxes.
Pay your taxes. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.